I got a Patreon request from the Ocean Hunter to review the Barry Sonnenfeld comedy Big Trouble, and this is a movie that's difficult to talk about without mentioning a tragic event. The movie was originally scheduled to be released on September 21st, 2001, but had already been promoted in television commercials in the weeks leading up to that date. But then the September 11th attacks happened, and Disney very quickly decided to delay the film. Why? Well, the third act involves a couple of criminals smuggling a bomb through airport security and then attempting to hijack an airplane. It's pretty easy to understand why everyone involved felt that was not the best time to release a comedy that made light of those things. Interesting enough, that was not the only Sonnenfeld film affected by September 11th. The original ending of Men in Black 2 was going to involve the World Trade Center, so that had to be refilmed. Regarding my opinion on Big Trouble, it has its moments, but does not entirely come together as a whole. This is one of those ensemble comedies with a massive cast, and the film does have trouble juggling all of them. The first half hour, when they're all being introduced, I barely even chuckled. However, once everyone has been established, it starts to get a little better and a few funny moments slip through. I thought the highlight of the cast was easily Dennis Farina as a hitman whose patience runs thin during this assignment to kill Stanley Tucci's character. Farina captures his frustrations really well as things keep going wrong. He also gets by far the best scene in the movie when he confronts a group of cigar smokers in a restaurant. In addition to being funny and witty, it's a cathartic moment, showing what many people, myself included, wish they could say to smokers but don't have the courage to.
I'm talking about manners. You see, there is no rule that says I can't come over here and fart on your entree, but I don't do it. Why? Because it's not good manners.
There's also a humorous running joke where Tucci's television keeps getting shot at, and Andy Richter has a small amusing appearance as a gun-toting security guard. With so many characters to go around, the film does struggle with giving them enough to do. Tim Allen is primarily required to be the straight man who gets roped into the shenanigans, but does not bring too much to the table here. In the beginning, it seems like Jason Lee's hippie will play a pivotal role in the story, but at a certain point he slips more into the background. He does form a romance with a maid played by a pre-Modern Family Sofia Vergara, and interesting enough, she also had a role in the action movie Collateral Damage, which, like Big Trouble, was delayed several months due to the September 11th attacks. However, her scenes, where she played an airplane hijacker, were removed. Johnny Knoxville and the late Tom Sizemore played the dim-witted criminals who bring the bomb on that airplane. Knoxville does not depart too heavily from his screen persona, but this was a different sort of performance for Sizemore, who is primarily known for dramatic and action roles. Regarding the airport security scene, it's certainly a moment that became outdated before the film was even released. Honestly, any airport scene made before 9/11 comes across as wildly unrealistic through modern eyes. Remember when you did not have to remove your shoes to walk through the metal detector, and when you were allowed to bring a tube of toothpaste on board? I would not be surprised if there were discussions within Disney and with Barry Sonnenfeld about refilming the ending like he did with Men in Black 2, but maybe they felt it was not worth the expense and it was difficult wrangling the entire cast back together. With how poorly Big Trouble performed at the box office and how quickly it disappeared from theaters, spending money on a new ending would have probably made it lose even more money for the studio. Looking at some of the other cast members, Zooey Deschanel shows up as Tucci's daughter, and her decision to play the role completely deadpan makes her character stand out a little from the goofer personalities who show up. It's also always fun when Patrick Warburton appears in something, with him playing a policeman here. Big Trouble is surprisingly short, by the way, running only about an hour and 17 minutes when you ignore the end credits. Then again, Sonnenfeld has never made a lengthy movie, with his longest-running films clocking in around an hour and 45 minutes. Watching Big Trouble, it made me reflect on Sonnenfeld's directing career and how fascinating it is. He has made some really good things, like The Addams Family, Get Shorty, Men in Black, and the Lemony Snicket television series. However, he has also directed movies like Wild Wild West, and RV, and 9 Lives. I would definitely put Big Trouble above those 3 movies, but it's also an example of how the quality of his output is all over the place. He can direct something really clever and funny and creative, but then turn in a bizarre comedy that lands with a thud. Although owing to his time as a cinematographer, his films are usually visually unique in their own way. It's also neat spotting the actors he has worked with on multiple occasions. I mentioned Patrick Warburton earlier, who was also in Men in Black 2, played Lemony Snicket, and was the Tick in the live-action television show Sonnenfeld executive produced and directed the pilot for. The last movie Sonnenfeld directed was 9 Lives, but it was announced a few years ago that he would be directing a hand-drawn animated film with Frank Marshall producing. It's been a while since we got an update on that, but I hope we hear something soon. To conclude, Big Trouble is a comedy that has some laughs, but the comedic situations and satire don't hit as much as they should, and only a few cast members manage to stand out. It's mainly interesting when looking at it through the lens of when it was released. If you've seen Big Trouble, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for the request, Ocean Hunter.